I want to get started with our first presenter, who is Charlie Evangelista. He's a senior member of the Ontario County Board of Supervisors, having represented the City of Geneva at the county level for the past 20 years. He currently chairs the Public Works Committee and is a member of the Environmental Committee and the Public Safety Committee. So he'll be our first presenter, and he'll have 15 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for coming tonight. I have about 40 slides that I'm going to get through. So if you have any trouble seeing what's going to be up there on the screen, I strongly suggest that you move up. The second part of it is there's a lot of content that's on the slides. So in the event that I'm going too quickly, please just raise your hand and I can use the clicker to not advance as quickly as I want to. But I have been a member of the Environmental Quality Committee for several years. My talk tonight is on the Solid Waste Master Plan. Each county has been charged by the state to develop their plan. We are, if our plan is approved ultimately by the state, it will be the first county plan that has a landfill. So it's significant that what we've done and what we are going to advance to the state has some really, I think, opportunities in terms of what the state wants to do and what we all want to do, which is ultimately to keep as little as possible into the landfill. So the first few slides are going to be about what the state plan is. Then I'll try to get into the county plan and the county's plans regarding the goals and implementation of those plans. And then I think what's really significant, and Mark is going to follow me, so if it's redundant, that's fine, because I think that's the most important thing that we want to emphasize tonight, is that we really have some opportunities to do some of the green initiatives that we want to do because we may have the money to do those things. So this essentially is what the state had originally talked about, and it focused in on the end of the pipe, so to speak. And that's where the state previously was. And this is pretty much where we want to go. Okay, and here's the goals now. And I know it's a lot of them, but these are pretty much what the state wants to see every county get involved with. It's significant to note that New York is currently a net exporter of solid waste to other states, and that's mostly from New York City, Long Island, and Westchester counties. We talked a little bit over dinner about that particular thing. Why the state wants to have New York should not be a net exporter of solid waste is something that I think is up for at least a little bit more discussion. But again, this is the state's plan. It addresses poor packaging, one banana in one package. Yeah. All right, and this is pretty much where we want to go, or what the state wants us to go. All the good things in terms of composting. Change the packaging. And I put down in the notes some of the things that we're going to be able to do as a county, we're going to be able to control. But some of the things that need to be done on a larger macro level is going to have to be done at the state level, and it's got to be done with the major companies that are they're going in that direction, but they certainly need incentives to keep that up in terms of the packaging. And that's an example of, obviously, reuse. Again, we're talking about the state and what their mantra is. All right. Now we get into the local solid waste management plan, which is ours, as far as Ontario County is concerned. So I'll let you read that. I don't want to insult you by reading the slides. But the last bullet The state says local solid waste management plans should evaluate and then propose methods to reduce waste, increase reuse, recycling, and composting within the planning unit. Planning units will be afforded flexibility in determining how to best implement their programs. They will not be ordered to establish specific facilities or programs or to be held to firm or mandatory goals. Rather, they will be asked to work as aggressively as possible to reduce the amount of waste destined for disposal, which I think is kind of loose and it's kind of open-ended, and it doesn't seem to have much teeth as far as enforcement is concerned. And that's where I think the onus is going to be back on the individual counties. Okay. As far as process, this is what we did. Again, somebody asked me how long has this been going on. I didn't even know you had a plan. This has been going on since 2011. We got behind 18 other draft local solid waste management plans. The first comments we received back from the state was on February 2013. The second comments came back on November 14, 2013. It's just going back and forth. We finally got an approvable letter that was issued by DEC on February 24th, pretty recently. And then DEC expedited review of the Ontario County Solid Waste Master Plan because they see it as a model for other counties to use. So that's how we got to where we are at right now. Okay, what's in the plan? I think it's significant to note that the 2-year progress report is required. So once we finally get the approval by the DEC in New York State, there's 2 years in order for us to get the plan up and running and to see essentially where we're going to be at with some of the things that we want to do. And here's our to-do list. These are the tasks. Specifically, Chapter 16. Again, this is the book. This is the Solid Waste Master Plan. So I knew I only had 15 minutes, and that wasn't going to happen for me to read it all. But that's the plan. And we focused in on the 16 specific objectives. Okay. Geez, I didn't hear any booing. But that's our landfill. And that's the current photo of the landfill. And I put that up there because that tells us that we've got about 14 years left of life with that landfill. Many of us want to use these next 14 years to plan for the end of that landfill as we know it. But how we get there is important because some of the things that we're talking about in the Solid Waste Master Plan we can do now and essentially set the table for the end of the landfill. And that shows you the next cell, and that essentially is, in my opinion, all the space that we have left. Mark will talk about some of the other things that are associated with that. Okay. Implementation of the task, how we do those things. And these are the different things that are within the plan. We're starting to see a lot of that now. Again, and at the end, I'll really try to hammer home that many of the things that we're doing here or that we want to do here require money. And I think we have a way to do some of these things if we have the political will and the people will to do them. Right now you can burn, and I didn't even know that, but you can burn and How are we doing for time? 5 minutes, okay. And these are the keys. Well, that's SpongeBob. That was, yeah, I didn't know some of the deer carcasses were a big deal, but it's included in the plan and what we do with them. Okay. And these are some of the really key things that we need to do and how we do them. These are grouped because they all involve, and one of the things, I think one of the shortcomings that we had in the plan is needing more data about waste and recycling streams. That was one of the criticism that we had in terms of gathering data. And while we tried to solicit that information, a lot of it wasn't really forthcoming. So we need to do more work on that. And we also need to adjust programs to fit. Again, this is a county-specific program. So what is happening here in the city of Geneva may not be happening or relevant in Honeoye, or what's happening in Eastview may not be relevant for Canandaigua. That's the town of Seneca. And then we got the density of Geneva, city of Geneva. That's a shot. That's downtown. Eastview. Okay. That's the schedule. Where are we at as far as time, folks? A couple minutes? Okay. And these are the goals of the implementation. This is what we hope to do. Okay. Probably the most important slide is the last slide. As I showed you the shot of the landfill, the next cell, or the last cell, hopefully, there's some money associated with that next cell. And according to the contract, the vendor is going to pay Ontario County residents that amount of money. Don't get hung up on the different cell parts, but the total of $18 million. What I think is really dynamic and what I think is really important to note is that all counties are going to have a solid waste municipal plan. All of them are going to have pretty much the same ideas as we do in terms of diversion and in terms of keeping things out of their respective landfill, or if they don't have a landfill, just out of the waste stream. But my own individual thought is going to be, and we could talk about it in the question and answer, is that we need to divert the money that's going to be given to Ontario County to either do some of the things countywide or do them for each municipality. Again, I showed you the shot of the differences that we have within this county. But at the same time, the needs are great. And I think it's important that this body here, and as we go forward, has the will and the interest and the conviction to leverage the money, some of that money. I know Supervisor Shepard's here in finance. He might not want the whole $18 million, but there's a certain amount of money that we need to have to do the plan and to do it well. We could leverage it with other grants. We could leverage it with other nonprofits. And I think it's exciting to note that we have the potential to do some of the things that we need to do in the next 10, 12 years to prepare for the end of the landfill. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Charlie, for that opening presentation. I'm assuming that the solid waste management plan might be available on the county website if folks wanted to learn more, or?
I thought it was up on one of the slides.
Okay,